as you know, we're here to dedicate McGill Square. We have members of the McGill family here. We have other folks here that I'd like to introduce. Yolanda Greaves from the Board of Selectmen, Rob Scher from the Board of Selectmen, Sarah Fontes from Representative Jack Lewis's office, Steve Mitchell from the Board of Selectmen, Major Brett Walker from the United States Army, Joe Mignani from the Board of Selectmen, Bill Gaff from Natick, I believe. He's kind of an unofficial member of Ashland. Cliff Wilson, the town historian, and members of the McGill family. So welcome, everyone. I think we're going to start off by having Major Walker read a prayer. As most of you know, there were 5 members of the McGill family that were fighting in World War II at the same time. One wounded, one was killed in action. And so we would like to recognize their service first. And then we have some citations from our state senator and our state representative. And then we'll open it up to anyone that wants to speak about their memories of the McGills and this sacred ground, I'm sure, to your family.
And thank you for allowing me the opportunity, McGill family, to be part of this ceremony. If you're so moved, I'd ask that you bow your head and join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the McGill family, for all the sacrifices that they made on behalf of this town, this Commonwealth, this nation, and this way of life. We ask your blessings upon this ceremony, that you sanctify this ground and ensure the blessings upon this ground, that it stands forever in remembrance of those who did such great things. We thank you for the McGill family, who sent 5 of its own overseas to fight for freedom, to fight for right, and to do so successfully. We ask your blessings upon this ground, that forever, when people pass, they will remember the sacrifices made, the time away from one's family, the loss of life. Let all those who walk past this point and drive past this point remember that and be moved by that forevermore. We ask your blessings upon all the American warriors who find themselves in service now and in the future. We ask that you bless them with fortitude and strength and victory. We ask that you bless their families with fortitude and strength and loyalty. We ask that you bless all those who are in attendance today, that they keep all matters in perspective, and that they extend the love shown by the McGill family to all the rest of Ashland. Amen. And just as a service member, I would just say that the type of sacrifice that's made by the McGill family of sending 5 siblings overseas, that is something that is unheard of by the more modern generations. And it demonstrates what this family did for this country, and it demonstrates why this country will forever remain a power on the battlefield and in the international sphere. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Major Walker. Steve Mitchell is now going to read, from the Board of Selectmen, is now going to read a proclamation from our state senator, Karen Spilka, who couldn't be with us this morning.
So thank you, Carl. So welcome to the McGill family, and Marcia in particular. We started this a number of years ago, so very pleased that we've gotten to this point where we're doing this dedication today. So, and I'm sorry that Paul isn't here to join us today. So we had supper last night with the senator, and she extends her apologies for not being here today. They're involved in the budget, the state budget right now. So she's working Saturday and Sunday this weekend, but she extends her best wishes, and I'll just quickly read a proclamation from the State Senate. So, Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate official citation. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to the McGill family in recognition of the dedication of the McGill Memorial Square at the intersection of Cherry Street and Summer Street, honoring your family's commitment to the town of Ashland and the United States of America. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate. It's signed by Harriet L. Chandler, the current President of the Massachusetts State Senate, William Welch, who is the Clerk of the Senate, and Karen E. Spilka, our State Senator, and dated May the 19th, 2018. So.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, next we have a representative from Representative Jack Lewis's office. Sarah Fontes is going to read a citation from the state rep's office.
Morning. The representative also sends his regrets. Unfortunately, occasionally he has to parent between all these busy schedules, so he's with the kids this morning. But I'll just read our citation as well. So the Commonwealth, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to the McGill family in recognition of the dedication of the McGill Square in Ashland and the tremendous service of your family to their community and to their country. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. So, signed to today's date, and also signed by Representative Lewis and Robert A. DeLeo, the current House Speaker. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, we've been joined by our town manager, Michael Herbert, here as well, who's been instrumental in keeping this process moving. I guess at this point, I will give you a little bit of my memory of this square and the folks who lived here. The folks from Ashland are familiar with my grandfather, George Sullivan. My grandfather had 5 older sisters, and one of them was Aunt Kate, and it was Aunt Kate that lived here. And they all lived within a stone's throw of each other. It was just the way things were. Aunt Kate lived here, Aunt Nell lived over there, Aunt Josie lived over there, Aunt Rose lived over there, and Aunt Margaret lived with Aunt Nell. And so because I was the youngest in the family, I have memories of all of them, but I was a little kid. My sisters have much clearer memories of all my mother's aunts, but my mother was a visitor. And because you didn't have to go too far to visit in those days, I was always kind of like tagging along. And one of my favorite places to go was to Aunt Kate's house here. Aunt Kate's had this beautiful porch on the front made out of stone. It was a funky house. It wasn't a grand house, but it was in a stately place. It just overlooked the square when the square looked very different. But I used to love, Aunt Kate was just one of the sweetest people on the planet. Always happy to see us, and my mother was always visiting them. So I have very fond memories of those days. I wish I could speak about those days with my mother now, but I'm really happy that we're able to do this. I didn't know most of my cousins here. They were the children of my mother's cousins who grew up here. And so I didn't know them growing up. I met Carolyn when I was really, really young, and I didn't meet Marcia until this process started. So I'm really happy that it finally came to fruition. I won't speak any more other than the fact that the McGills had deep roots here in Ashland for a long time, and Cliff Wilson, who's here someplace, Cliff is the town historian, and he's got all the stories. When we started this process, he was the first person that I called up to find out who was who and who was related to who, because it has been a long time. So, again, I'm very happy that we were able to finally recognize this place and recognize that part of Ashland history that will be preserved now for future generations to know what went on here and why it went on here. And I thank you all thank you all on both sides for being here. And if any of you would like to share your stories and your memories here, including you, Cliff, we would welcome that.
On behalf of the McGill family, we would just like to thank everyone, especially the Ashland Board of Selectmen, town manager, our cousin Kyle, who's been absolutely wonderful. So we really, we appreciate this so much. This is absolutely beautiful. And I know that our family would be very proud. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Joe?
Oh, I do. One quick thing to say real quick. That's something real quick to say. I know, I have to be very careful. Thank you. Those who don't know me, my name is Joe Mignani. My family goes back with the McGill family for a number of years. Just a big truck going by, so we're going to wait for the noise to subside a little bit. But this intersection was a little different when the McGill family was growing up here. This patch of land wasn't here. It was a straight shot to 135, if you guys remember correctly. And we used to ride our bikes here all the time, and George would be sitting out here chomping on a cigar on the front steps, telling us, "Hey, you little," well, I won't say it, but, just, slow down. He always used to tell us to slow down. Then he would walk down to the park and watch us play ball, and he'd always used to yell out at us, "You're not doing this right, you're not doing that right." And we just look at him, start laughing, and then he'd be chomping on a cigar, and he'd walk back up there and sit on the porch again. But the families went back a long way, and I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that this is a nice little memory for all of them. If I remember correctly, I think Cornelius McGill, he was a selectman in town at one time, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember that. Used to call him Neely, right? Yeah, okay. So he got my father involved in working in the town, and he appointed my father as the DPW director many years ago. I was in the 8th grade. So that's how far back our families go together. So congratulations. It's a wonderful dedication, and I'm glad to be part of it. Representative Mignanis. Thank you.
I suppose my favorite memories of the McGill family, other than Leo's daughter, Linda, were Franny McGill. Franny had the hardware store downtown, and I can remember when I was 8 years old, I'd go to Hunt and Denver's next door, and then I'd go over to the hardware store, and I mean, there was just something about the smell, it was just a wonderful place to go into as a kid. There were things all over the place, wonderful things. But what really caught my eye was a bow and arrow in the window. And I can remember having to save up by, turning in bottle deposits and whatnot, because my parents wouldn't let me have it until I saved up enough money to buy it. I don't recall how much it was, but it was a lot of bottles. But I did wind up buying it. But Franny would always just greet you when you came into town. Now, he was a town clerk also at that time, so if you wanted a fishing license, you'd go to the hardware store to get your fishing license. I mean, that's just the way it was in those days. But it was just a wonderful, wonderful spot, and I can remember, unfortunately, he passed it at the Thanksgiving Day game that was in Hopkinton that year, and I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed at that time. But the McGill family has always held a warm spot in my heart, and it all was well. Thank you very much.